They say family means unconditional love, but on the day I graduated, my parents were posting beach selfies while my name vanished from every family photo. That was the day I realized I'd been erased on purpose, not by accident. Hi, I'm Cassidy, and I spent most of my life being the backup plan, the invisible daughter, until I decided to fight for my own story. Have you ever felt like you could disappear from your family and no one would notice? Let me take you back to the moment everything changed, when silence turned into payback and erasure met its match. It's funny how some families celebrate absence more than achievement. Sunlight flooded the campus as families hugged, snapped photos, and cheered. I stood alone, adjusting my cap, pretending to text while my phone screen stayed empty. No calls, no messages, not even a good luck from Maureen or Charles. I kept thinking of the old family Christmas card where Allison beamed at the center and my face was cut out, a detail I once thought accidental. Today I knew better. Jasmine called. "Are they there yet?" she asked, her voice gentle. "No," I said, voice thin. "They're at the beach." Allison posted a pic.
She paused.
"Want me to come get you?" I shook my head, forcing a smile. "I'll survive. Enjoy your family." Nearby, a classmate's father handed out bouquets. A mother cried into her son's shoulder. Everywhere I turned, someone was being loved out loud. I tried not to envy them. Then Dean Moore approached, gray suit crisp against the blue sky. "Ms. Rhodes," he said kindly, "your art project left an impression. Cross and Company needs minds like yours." He pressed a sleek business card into my palm. Marcus Cross, CEO. The letters shimmered, heavy with promise. I smiled stiffly, barely processing his words as a wave of loneliness crashed through me. After the ceremony, classmates huddled for group shots. I lingered, phone in hand, watching my notifications light up. A new post appeared, my family, cocktails in hand, Allison radiant as ever. The caption stung, "Family first. Recharge time." My name, my existence, erased with one careless upload. Walking home under the Minneapolis sun, I passed neighbors whose eyes darted away. Their pity burned worse than their stares. Each step echoed in my head. The house was just as I left it, immaculate, cold. I entered quietly and froze. The family photo wall had been scrubbed clean. Maureen at charity galas, Charles winning awards, Allison's trophies, even baby pictures, everyone but me. Where my graduation photo should have been was nothing but a pale outline in the dust. I gripped the CEO's card until my knuckles ached. No one celebrated me, but this card proved I mattered, even if they refused to see it. In that hollow silence, something hardened inside me. My family's erasure would no longer define me. I turned away, ready to write myself back in. It's easier to erase a person than to ever say, "I'm sorry." The Rhodes house gleamed under morning light, but every corner felt colder than I remembered. I moved quietly, my footsteps lost on marble floors as I traced the familiar gallery wall. Only now, instead of childhood smiles and bright graduations, there were blank spaces and shadowy outlines, ghosts where my face used to be. Dust marked the spots where my pictures had once hung, wiped away as if I'd never lived here at all. I lingered at the biggest gap, running my finger over the pale square. Suddenly, I was 12 again, watching Allison parade her latest medal while my own science trophy was misplaced somewhere in a closet. Back then, I told myself it was just bad luck. Now it was deliberate. I swallowed the old ache, letting it fuel something sharper inside me. I found Maureen arranging flowers in the sunroom, her back perfectly straight, eyes fixed on a vase. "Mom, did you take down my photos?" She didn't look up. "Not everyone's meant to be on display, Cassidy. Don't be so sensitive." Her words landed like frost. "I just want to know why. Why make a scene? Focus on your future. Allison is hosting friends today, so try not to sulk around." The sound of laughter drifted from the kitchen. Allison's party in full swing. Guests gushed over her latest promotion, pausing only to ask Maureen how she does it all. No one noticed me in the hallway, not even Allison, who tossed me a quick glance, all self-assurance and zero warmth. I escaped upstairs, heart pounding, and opened my bedroom door, only to find my life in boxes. Clothes shoved into old cartons, books stacked without care, my art supplies thrown together like afterthoughts. My walls, once covered in sketches and Polaroids, were bare, all evidence of my existence packed away for storage. Even my childhood dog, Max, barked from the yard below, a new collar and a new name, Champ, because Allison said it sounded stronger. Dinner was tense. Charles sat at the end of the table, scrolling his tablet. The meal passed in forced silence until he finally looked up. Maybe you should learn to appreciate silence, Cassidy. Not everyone is born to shine. Allison smirked, raising her glass. Cheers to that. I held back the urge to argue. Instead, when the plates were cleared and the house quieted, I slipped into my parents' study. My hands shook as I spun the combination on the safe, muscle memory from a more innocent time. Inside, I found it, the original bank document, stamped and signed, confirming I'd wired thousands for the lake cabin 5 years ago. Proof that I mattered, even if they wanted me to forget. Heart pounding, I texted Jasmine. You once said being forgotten is its own kind of violence. Maybe it's time I fight back. Funny how what's yours can vanish the moment you're too weak to claim it. The air in the garage was sharp with dust and lost time. I crouched by a battered box labeled Old Taxes, digging through brittle papers and faded receipts. At the bottom, beneath a pile of canceled checks, I found it. The notarized transfer slip, my name beside Charles and Maureen's signatures, stamped with the bank's official red seal. 5 years ago, I'd wired them every dollar I had to save the lake cabin, believing, back then, that family meant something unbreakable. I stared at the document, anger rising. How quickly they'd called it a gift, then wiped it from memory the second I was no longer useful. I snapped a photo and texted Jasmine, who replied in seconds. That's proof. Don't let them gaslight you again. We met at a tiny cafe humming with graduation music, the walls taped up with posters of kids in caps. Jasmine leaned in, scrolling through old emails on my laptop. Look, she pointed, your mom's thank you for the money, right before she asked you to stay quiet about it. You were their backup plan, not their daughter. My hand shook as I called Gordon Halley, the lawyer my late uncle trusted. Gordon? I need to confirm something about the trust, I said, voice cold. He didn't hesitate. Cassidy, I remember you. The trust was changed while you were hospitalized, March 2018. Your share was signed away without your knowledge. I closed my eyes, jaw tight. So, they cut me out while I was hooked up to IVs? I have the paperwork to prove it. Want me to send copies?
Yes.
Please do. Later that night, Jasmine and I spread the evidence across my kitchen table. Emails, the bank slip, printed texts. Every thank you from my parents dripped with manipulation, their gratitude always conditional, always temporary. I looked at the folder in my hands, the papers that once promised a place in my family's future. Now they were weapons. I no longer felt sad, I felt focused. Their betrayal would not be left to memory or whispers. I opened my laptop, composed a message to Maureen, Charles, and Allison. We need to talk. In person. About the truth. I hit send, watching my reflection harden in the screen. If you wanted to erase me, you should have done a cleaner job. The dining room felt like a war zone disguised as family tradition, mahogany table gleaming, crystal glasses sparkling, but the air brittle with anticipation. I walked in, folder tight in my hand, pulse steady. Maureen's smile was porcelain thin. Charles avoided my eyes. Allison scrolled her phone, looking bored until she realized I was not here to play along. I'm not here to beg, I said, voice cutting through the cold air. I'm here to talk facts. I placed the documents on the table one by one. The notarized transfer slip, Gordon Halley's letter, printed emails where Maureen thanked me for saving the cabin and then asked me not to mention it. You needed me to be your emotional safety net and your financial backup, I said, meeting each gaze. But when I was in the hospital, you changed the trust. You cut me out. Maureen pressed her lips together. Cassidy, you're being dramatic. Not everything is as it seems. Allison laughed, sharp and dismissive. You always loved playing the victim. This is classic. I pushed back. No, this is classic Rhodes family. Rewrite the story. Hope nobody keeps receipts. I slid the legal proof closer to Maureen. You signed this the same week you promised I'd always have a home here. Does that feel like home to you? The silence was heavy, broken only by Allison's nervous grip. Her wine glass slipped, shattering on the floor. Jasmine sat beside me, reading aloud an old text from Charles. Cassidy, you're the emotional backbone of this family. Charles finally looked up, voice hollow. We did what we had to. Things were complicated. Complicated for who? I shot back. For the daughter, who gave everything? Or the parents who took until there was nothing left? Maureen's fingers snapped a silver spoon in half. The room seemed to shrink around us. Are you threatening us? She whispered. I looked at each of them, cold and clear. If this has to go to court, so be it.
I won't be silent this time.
I'm done being erased. Allison's voice rose, but for once no one listened. Charles's phone rang. He paled as he recognized the number. I allowed myself the smallest smile. Game on. The table broke apart, everyone drifting in separate directions. Crystal shards on the floor, a bent spoon, and the truth, finally, laid bare. Sometimes justice comes in envelopes, not apologies. The morning sun spilled across Arthur Lau's office, catching dust motes in the air, making everything look softer than it was. I sat tall, chin lifted, watching Arthur slide a thick envelope across the polished desk. Your father left this for you, he said, voice gentle but firm. I opened it and stared at the addendum. My share of the trust, restored, my name in bold ink, and a handwritten note. You held this family together, even when we didn't see it. A strange calm settled over me. For years, I dreamed of an embrace, a proud word, any proof that I mattered. Now, with legal recognition in my hands, I felt lighter, not because they finally saw me, but because I'd survived without their approval. Arthur met my gaze. It's your choice, Cassidy. No one else gets to define you anymore. I signed the documents, thanked him, and gathered my things. This is goodbye. I hope you all find peace, I said, facing my parents and Allison one last time. Maureen's composure cracked. Tears streaked her makeup as she whispered, Cassidy, please. Charles mumbled a hollow apology, words lost in the heavy silence. Allison glared, eyes wild with jealousy, then stormed out, her heels echoing down the hallway. I drove to Lakeview with everything I owned in the back seat, windows down, wind cold and freeing. The cabin stood waiting, golden in the late afternoon light. Inside, I unpacked boxes, opened windows, let the crisp air sweep away years of suffocation. I stacked old letters on the hearth, each one a memory of what I'd given, never gotten back, and set them aflame. The paper curled, ink melting into ash. I hung my childhood photo over the fireplace, next to a journal page I once wrote in secret. This is my home now. For the first time, I believed it. Jasmine visited that weekend, bringing laughter that filled every empty corner. Even the family dog, Max, now just Max again, raced circles in the new yard, tongue lolling with joy. That night, I looked at myself in the cabin's dusty mirror. I didn't need permission to belong. My reflection smiled back, quiet, sure, and utterly my own. Just before sleep, an email pinged on my phone. A local nonprofit wanted me to speak at their upcoming panel on invisible labor. I read the invitation twice, heart beating steady. My story wasn't just about reclaiming a house or a name. It was about owning my worth, finally and completely. They tried to write me out, but I'm the one holding the pen now. Morning light filtered through the cabin windows, painting everything gold. I stood by the fire, thumbing through my old diary, the one I'd written as a girl, promising myself, someday I'll matter enough that no one will dare forget me. Today, I didn't have to hope. I knew. At the community center, I stepped onto a modest stage, notes in hand, the hum of folding chairs and weak coffee grounding me. The crowd waited, not for my family's version of events, but for mine. I grew up believing if I was quiet enough, helpful enough, I'd finally belong. I told them. But sometimes, the people you love are the ones who erase you first. So I wrote myself back in. The room listened, silent and electric. Midway through my story, I saw Allison standing in the back, arms folded, eyes hard. "Cassidy's exaggerating," she called out. It wasn't like that. I held her gaze, voice steady. Some tables were never set for us, and some of us learned to build our own. Allison huffed, but the audience leaned toward me, not her. Afterward, a shy teen approached as I packed up. "Does it ever stop hurting?" she whispered. I smiled. "Not always, but it stops defining you." She nodded, hope flickering in her eyes. That night, I sat in front of the cabin's fireplace, tea steaming beside me, the photo of little Cassidy, ribbon askew, cheeks smudged, framed above the mantel. I opened my new journal and wrote, "Now I belong here." I found the old letter I'd never sent to my parents, one that ended, "I forgive you. I just wanted to be enough." With a steady hand, I fed it to the fire and watched the paper curl into embers. No bitterness, just release. Jasmine sent a photo of us laughing on the porch. Arthur emailed to say he was proud. As I closed my laptop, an alert popped up. "We want your story in the next magazine issue." The world needs to hear this. Stepping onto the porch, I breathed in the cool night air, peace settling deep in my chest. For the first time, I was free, not because anyone gave it to me, but because I claimed it for myself.